Right, hi guys, welcome back to another video. This week we're looking at something a little bit different. We're looking at the top 10 topic tips for functional skills maths. Okay, so we're not looking at GCSE anymore, we're looking at functional skills maths. And basically we're just looking at the top sort of topics that you need to be able to be successful in the exam. These topics come up all the time and they're probably the most important topics in order to pass the exam. So let's have a look at these topics. So these are the top 10 topics. So we've got multiplication, division, rounding. Rounding, we've also, within that, we've got estimation. BIDMAS, which is your order of operations, so BIDMAS or BODMAS. Fractions, fraction decimal percentages, so converting between them, but also using percentages. Measurements, area, perimeter, and volume, and averages and ratio. So we're going to go through these topics. Some of the stuff you're going to be able to do, some stuff you're going to have to do a little bit of practice, other stuff you're just going to need to try and memorize or copy down. So if we start with multiplication, my method of multiplication is a grid. So I've got my grid here, and at the top, you can put a multiplication there. I've got 20, I split into 10s and so 20 and 4. That's going to be my top, and then multiplying by 6, I'm going to put 6 here. So I do 2 times 6, which is 12. Bring the 0 down, gives me 120. 4 times 6 is 24. Then I add these two together, which gives me 120 plus 24, which is 144. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Again, I'll create my grid. This time, because I've got 2 numbers by 2 numbers, I'm going to add an extra line in here. So I break that into 10 and 5, that's the 15, and 30 and 2, that's the 32. 1 times 3 is 3. A 0 here and a 0 here gives me 2 zeros here. 3 times 5 is 15. And then I bring the 0 over from here to make it 150. 1 times 2 is 2. Bring down the 0. And 2 times 5 is 10. Now I'm going to add all these together. So we've got 300, 150, 20, and 10. 0, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 and 1 is 4, so 480. Okay, 25 squared. So it's usually a square question in the exam somewhere. Remember, this means 25 multiplied by 25. Okay, so to draw out a grid again, we're splitting it into tens and units. So we need 2 along the top and 2 down the side. We've got 20 and 5, 20 and 5. And inside the boxes then, we're going to do 20 times 20, so 2 times 2, which is 4. Bring the 2 zeros. 2 times 5, which is 10. Bring across the 0, makes 100. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring down the 0, which is another 100. 5 times 5, 25. Now I'll add together all these pink numbers. So 400, 100, 100, and 25. So all the 0 and a 5, 0, 0, and a 2, 4, 5, 6. So 25 squared is going to be 625. Okay, so whatever method you use for multiplying, I think the grid's the most straightforward, but if you've got a different method, that's absolutely fine, as long as you're getting these same answers. As with the videos, you can pause at the beginning, have a go, and then unpause, and then check your answers against mine. Okay, on to division. So we're going to do 32 divided by 4. So we're going to use our bus stop here, if we need to. So put 4 on the outside. Whatever we're dividing by goes on the outside. 32 goes on the inside. If you're struggling with this, write out your 4 times table. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40. Okay, and then count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 32 divided by 4 is 8. Okay, moving on to this next one. 492 divided by 6. So 492 goes there, and 6 goes on the outside. Again, if you're not strong with your tables, write them out. So 6, 12, 18. If you're counting up, that's fine. 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, and 60. Okay, so in your exam, you can write these out if you wanted to. So if you need to, so 6 into 49, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gets us to 48. So you write the 8, then the remainder, put next to the 2. Then we've got 6 into 1, can't go, 6 into 12, 1, 2. So 492 divided by 6 is 12. Sorry, 82. Okay, so let's have a look at this last one. So 3s into 4, let's get rid of this. So we've got a bit more space. I'll keep the 4s there because we might need those. The next part. Okay, so 4 on the outside, 3 on the inside. This might also be written as 3/4. Okay, it's saying the same. These two things mean the same thing. 3 divided by 4 and 3/4 is the same calculation. So we're doing 3 divided by 4. Well, 4 doesn't go into 3 because it's bigger than it. Okay, so we put a 0 point there. Then we put a 0 here to make this into 30. Okay, so 4's into 30. Now we can use that. 4, 8, 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And we've got a remainder from 28 to 30 of 2. 4's into 2. Again, that can't go. So we put a 0 after it. 4's into 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 3 divided by 4, or 3/4, or 3 over 4, is as a decimal 0.75. Okay, moving on. We've got rounding. Rounding to the nearest 10. So the key thing here is knowing where your units go. So we've got units, tens, hundreds. If we round to the nearest 10, that means we're looking at the 10 column and the one after, tens and units. These two. Okay, so 37, remember if it's 5 upwards, you move the number up, so you go to the next 10. If it's 4 or below, you keep the number the same. So 7 is obviously above 5, so it's going to go up to the next one. It's going to change this number up one. The 10, so it's going to be 240. Okay, the 7 is more than 5, so it's going to move it up. 37, it's going to round to 40, and the number before will stay the same. Okay, 333 to the nearest 10, so units, tens, hundreds. So again, we're looking at the tens and the units, so it's the tens and the one after it. We're looking for nearest 10, so it's the tens column and the one after it. So 33, well, it's less than 4, so it's going to stay the same. So that's going to be 30, and this will stay at 3, so 330. 7813 to the nearest 100, so you've got units, tens, hundreds, and thousands. Okay, we're looking for hundreds, so it's 100 and 10, that one and the one after. Okay, 81. 81 is going to round to 80. Everything after that's going to become a 0. So that 3 is going to become a 0. That 7 will stay the same. So to the nearest 100, we've got 7,800. If you say the word out to yourself and it's the word 100 at the end, that means you've probably got the right, you round it to the right number. Okay. So round 77,523 to the nearest 1,000. Okay, so units, tens, hundreds, thousands. We've got 10,000s there. So we're looking for nearest 1,000. So it's this one and this one. There's 1,000 and the 100. Okay, 75. That's going to round to 80. Everything after becomes a 0, and what's before stays the same. So we've got 78,000. 78,000. Again, we're saying the word 1,000 last, so we know that we're on the right track. Okay, round decimal places. 1 decimal place. That means 1 number after the point. So you put a little line here. Okay, 1 place, 1 decimal place. So we've got 49.9. Then we look at the one after the line. So 2. Same idea. If it's 5 or more, it goes up. If it's 4 or less, it goes down. So 92, or 2 is less than 5, so it's going to stay the same. This one would be 49.9. These numbers, well, it could be 0, 0, 0. Because we only want one decimal place, we don't write these zeros. Okay, 2 decimal places. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. 2 decimal places means it's this one, the 2, and like we did before, the one after, 2 and the 3. Okay, so 75, that's going to round up to 80. Okay, this is going to become a 0. 2 stays the same, and the 65 stays the same. Again, we want to get rid of these 2 zeros. So 2 decimal places, we've got 2 numbers after the point. 1 decimal place, we've got 1 number after the point. Okay, so this one's a bit more tricky. 2 decimal places again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're looking 2 decimal places, so it's 2 and 3 we're looking at. So it's these 2. So 99 is going to round to 100. Okay. So we've only got 2 digits there. So that's going to, what it's going to mean is it's going to add 1 onto here. So it's going to add 1 onto there, but that's going to make that into 10. So that's going to add 1 onto here. So this is going to become 0 also. And this, because we've added 1 onto here, is going to become 5. So it's going to be 85.000. But again, 2 decimal places, so we get rid of any zeros after the 2 points. Okay. Looking at BIDMAS then. So BIDMAS is our brackets, indices, that's your powers. So squared, cubed, divide, multiply, add, and subtract. So this is the order that you answer a question in. So looking at the first one, we've got a multiply and we've got an add. So we look at our BIDMAS, M comes before A. So we do this part first. So 2 times 4, which is 8. And then we do 8 plus 1, which gives us 9. Moving down, we've got brackets here, so we have to do that part first. So doing the brackets, we've got 5 take away 7. So be careful with these questions. 5 take away 7 is -2, -2. Okay? So even though there's a minus there, a take away, okay, because it's in the brackets, we still do this part first, even though subtract's right at the bottom. If it's in brackets, you do that part first. 5 take away 7 is -2. -2 times 2 is -4. Okay, so be careful with your negative numbers. This one, we've got a bracket. So we're going to do inside the bracket first. So 1 plus 5, which is 6. So we've got 6 squared times 2. So now we've got an I and an M. So do the I first. So 6 squared. Remember that's 6 times 6, which is 36 times by 2. So we've only got the M left now. 36 times by 2 is 72. Last one, we've got an I, we've got an M, and we've got an A. So we do the I first, 2 squared, 2 times 2, which is 4. So that leaves us with 3 plus 9 times 4. We've got an M and an A. So we do the M next, 4 times 9, which is 36. Add the 3, which is going to give us 39. Okay, so remember, order of operations. Whenever you see a question that has more than one symbol in, that's going to be a BIDMAS question. It won't say BIDMAS. You have to know whenever you see a question with more than one symbol, it's going to be a BIDMAS question. Okay, simplifying. So simplifying fractions is something a lot of people struggle with. The key thing here is you have to try and find a number. Again, it always comes back to knowing your times tables. The better you know your times tables, the easier it is to spot. So we find a number that 4 and 6 that goes into both 4 and 6. So it goes into 4 and 6. So it has to be smaller than 4 and 6. Okay, so the number that goes into both 4 and 6 is 2. Okay, if both the numbers are even, you can always divide by 2. So if it's an even number, so it ends in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, that will be an even number, so you can divide by 2. So 4 divided by 2, remember the rule, whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, so 2/3. Okay, knowing your times tables again, a number that goes into 9 and 15 is 3. So divide the top and bottom by 3. And then 9 divided by 3 is 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, so we've simplified that down. When we've got a number that's got 0 on top and 0 on the bottom, the first thing we can do is cancel the zeros off. Okay, it's a little trick there. So now we're left with 6 over 12. Find a number that goes into both. Okay, well, they're both even, so you could do 2, or you could do 3, or you could even do 6. Okay, so you can divide by top and bottom by 6. That goes into both 6 and 12, which can leave you with 1/2. If you did do 2, you'd still be able to get to a half. You'd have to cancel again. Okay, but looking for the biggest number is the best way to get there fastest. Okay, converting improper fractions to mixed numbers. So you need to think, how many 5s are there in 11? So how many 5s in 11? Which is 2. So you write a big 2, and the remainder, so 5, 10, the remainder is 1. And you write that as a fraction, like that, 1 over, and this is always the bottom number. So the number in the question is the bottom number. Okay, 8s. How many 3s are there in 8? Again, it's 2. And the remainder is 2, so 3, 6. Remainder is 2 over 3. So again, the bottom number stays the same. Converting to improper fractions, we've got the trick here is you do 2 times 5 first. So the bottom number, again, stays the same. The bottom number here will always be 5, and the bottom number here will be 3. So you do the big number multiplied by the bottom number, so 2 times 5, which is 10. Then you add on the top number, which is going to give you 14. 2 times 5 is 10. And then add on the top is 14. So 14 over 5. Again, for this one, you do times the big number by the bottom number, 4 times 3, which is 12. Then add on the top number. So 4 and a third. So 4 times 3 is 12. Add the 1, and it was 13 over 3. Okay, you can make these up and practice these. There's no trick to them, so just make them up if you want more practice, and then try and convert them between. Okay, moving on to using fractions then. So half of 48. To work this out, remember the rule is for fractions, you divide by bottom, and then you times by top. Okay, so 48, half of 48 is going to be 48 divided by 2. Okay, which is 24. And then times by the top, well, you don't necessarily need to do this, but just for the sake of it, 24 times by 1 is 24. So that's your final answer, 24. Okay, 1/5 of 55. So again, you divide the total, or the number you're working with, by the bottom of the fraction. And then you would times this by the top. Just for the sake of doing it, I'm going to do it. Okay, so your final answer is 11. The next one, you've got 2/3 of 27. So you do 27 divided by 3, which is 9. And then 9 times by, now times by the top, which is 2 this time, which is going to give us 18. Okay, and that's your final answer. So divide by the bottom, times by the top. That was any fraction you're going to work with. Okay. So this is a little bit that you need to sort of memorize. So these 5 fractions are the most common fractions that appear in the exam. So these fractions come up quite a lot, and so it's easy. It'll make it easier for you if you can memorize these and learn what they are as a fraction, decimal, and a percentage. Because I think it's always easier to work with numbers as decimals. That's just my opinion, but I find it a lot easier to work with 0.5, 0.25, rather than trying to add fractions. So if you can convert these more easily, if you can remember this slide and try and memorize these conversions, it's going to make life a little bit easier for you in the exam. So you might want to pause this here, write them down somewhere, or take a picture of this so you can quickly recap these conversions. Okay. Finding a percentage then. So to find 10%, the easiest way, I imagine, there's a little point here. I always imagine there's a point at the end of a number. So all these have got an imaginary point at the end. And to find 10%, you just move the point 1 to the left. Okay, so here, 10%. is going to be 54. Here, 10% is going to be move the point 1 over 9.8. Okay, finding 20%, the first step is the same. You still need to find 10%. Excuse me. So you move the point over 1, which is going to give us 10%, which is 60. To get 20%, I need another 10%. So 2 10s make 20. So in total, I'm going to have 20% here. I'm going to have 2 10s, which is going to make 20. So 10% we already know is 60. The 20% is going to be double that, which is going to be 120. To find 5%, again, you need to find 10% first. So move the point over 1, which gives you 4. 5% is half of 10%. So you need to find half of 4, which is going to be 2. So 5% is 2, 10% is 4. So you're always finding 10% first. Okay, finding 35% of 200. So there's 2 ways of doing this. On a calculator, you would just press 35, find the percent button on your calculator, and then press times 200. Without a calculator, we'll just do what we just did before. Find 10%, which is, here's your point, move it over. Excuse me. 10%, which is going to be 20. And then another 10%. And then another 10%. And then a 5%. If we add all these together, it's going to give us the 35%. So 10% is 20. Another 10% is another 20. Another 10% is another 20. And 5%, remember, is half of 10%. That's going to be 10. Add all these together. It's 35%. And is 20, 40, 60, 70. Okay, again on a calculator, 35, percentage button, times 200, which would also give you 70. Okay, again, this is a part for you to try and remember. This is a key sort of bit of knowledge here we need to remember. Again, they won't give you this in the exam, so you need to memorize these lengths. 100 millimeters is a centimeter, 100 centimeters makes a meter, 1,000 meters is a kilometer, and the same with weight. 1,000 grams is a kilogram, and 1,000 kilograms is a ton. These are things that you need to try and remember. So write these down, try and memorize these conversions. Okay, moving on to the averages then. So these are the 4 averages we need. The mode is the most common. Median is the middle number when you put the numbers in order. The mean or the average, so if it mentions the word average, just find the average, you're going to be looking at the mean. And that is to add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers there are. And the range is the biggest, take away the smallest. So again, this is something you need to memorize, something you need to learn and remember. So let's have a look at these in practice. So finding the mean, mode, median, and range. So start with the mode, which is the most common number. So the most common number here is 9. Okay, it's 2 9s. The median. So you need to put them in order. So start with the smallest. So we've got 3, 8, 9, 9, and 11. And then you're going to cross off, or however you want to do it, to find the middle. Okay, so 9 is the median here. The mean, we need to add them up. So 9 and 11 makes 20, 28, 29, 30, 31, so 40. So we've got 40 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is going to give us 8. And the range is the biggest, which is 11. Take away the smallest, which is 3, which can leave us with 8. Okay. Okay, straight on to perimeter and area. So moving on to our shapes. So perimeter means the outline or the outside of the shape. The outline, oops, that's meant to be one eye there, we don't need 2. the outline of the shape. So here we've got 7 and 4. We need another 4 here and another 7. And the outline is you add them all together. So the perimeter, you add all the numbers together. So, sorry. We've got, apologies. Seven and 4. 7 plus 4 plus 7 plus 4. We add all the sides together. 7 plus 4 plus 7 plus 4. So 11 plus 11 is 22. And this would just be centimeters. The area is the length times the width. Okay, for a rectangle, length times the width. Okay, which here the length is 7. Okay, that's the length alongside. And the width is 4, how wide it is. Okay, so the area would be 28. And this time it's going to be centimeters squared. Okay, volume. That's the length times the width times the height, or the depth. So the length times the width. So the length here is 10 alongside. The width, 3. And then the height is 4. Okay, 10 times 3, 30. 30 times 4 is 120. And this time it's going to be centimeters cubed. Okay, so we have centimeters squared for the area, centimeters cubed for volume, because it's 3D. Okay, 3D is cubed. Okay. Okay, the last thing to look at today, ratio. So ratio works in several steps. So the first step is you want to add together the two ratios. So it always starts the same, add together the ratios, which here gives us 5. The second step is you divide the number we're starting with, so 50, by the total you've just got here, total of the two ratios. So 50 divided by 5, which is 10. And the last step is then you multiply this number we've got 10 here by the two original ratios. And that's how we split it. So 10 times 2, which is 20, and 10 times 3, which is 30. And these two numbers should add up to the 50 we started with. It does. Okay, so that's sort of the bare bones of it. Here we've got a worded version. So Tony and Fred share 30 marbles in the ratio 1 to 4. How many marbles does Fred get? So the first step's the same. We add the ratios together. So 1 plus 4 gives us 5. Step 2, we divide the total by the total of the ratios. So we've got 30 divided by 5, which is going to give us 6. And now the third step, well, we're only interested in how many marbles Fred gets. So Fred, his name came second, so he's the second number, he's the 4. Okay, so we need to do 6 times by 4, which is going to give us 24. So Fred has 24. Okay, so that's basically everything of the key top 10 topics. Obviously, there's loads of other things within the functional skills exam that you need to work on. But if you can get these topics all sorted and understand them and really get yourself understanding all these topics and have them fluent, then it's going to make the rest of it, the other topics, a bit easier. Okay, so you really need to make sure you concentrate on these 10 topics, get them completely boxed off and understood, and then the rest of the topics will hopefully fall into place. Thanks a lot, guys, for listening. And remember, you need to keep working hard if you're going to pass this exam this year. Okay, take care.